Okay, this video is about comments from viewers, but I just want to show a couple paintings first. It'll take just a minute because I'm kind of happy and a little bit excited about all these papers and case reports coming out of patients cured for congestive heart failure with a vegan diet. Because what that means is it's basically a failing heart is basically a death sentence, heart failure, congestive heart failure. And now it's being reversed in multiple case reports with a low-fat vegan diet. So it reminded me of Jesus Christou reviving Lazarus. So here's some beautiful paintings. This one's by Bloch from 1870. And I like the way it tells a story, from left to right, Jesus Christou, the sister of Lazarus, and then Lazarus arising from the tomb. And Bloch painted all these paintings from the life of Jesus Christou, and they're magnificent. Okay, so now the next one here, historical. This is from 1558 by Lucas Cranach. He is the painter who painted all about the life of Martin Luther. So here's Martin Luther right here, Jesus Christou, restoring to life Lazarus. And on this one, you get the sense that that's his sister, but it's not as clearly evident from the painting. Okay, so Lucas Cranach in 1558, and now let's see the progression of art technique. Now here is Rembrandt painting the same scene, the raising of Lazarus in 1632. It's more clear who the sister of Lazarus is. And it's nice again, it kind of goes in a story order from left to right, and you can follow it. But, I always thought that Rembrandt was kind of overrated, not as emotionally compelling or artistically vivid as some of the artists. And here's a perfect example. Here is Jean Jouvenet, 1706. And to me, this is magnificent. I think that, having more blue in the painting creates this uplifting sense. Blue is sort of a magnificent color. As John Ruskin said, blue is sort of like the heavenly color. And here again, you can see the story. It goes from left to right with the raising of Lazarus, and it's rather magnificent. And just the gestures of the characters, the sister there, it's extraordinary. Okay, and then here's one more painting. This will be the last one, and then we'll get to the viewer comments. And this is The Raising of Lazarus by Edward von Gebhardt. And you can see, it's magnificent. Look at the expression on the face of his sister and the nun. It's just, it's a miracle. It's beautiful. It's a medical miracle. It's a religious miracle. It's beautiful. And I joke, but it's the truth. The only thing that can save healthcare is religion. It's Christianity. And it's never going to be allowed to. Individuals... Anyways, well, let me just go on with the talk here. So here's the viewer comments. Okay, the first viewer says, you shouldn't talk about divorce on the internet. You're just empowering your wife to screw you over worse. Another one says, stop with the dating videos. No one cares about your personal life. This channel should be for health videos only. My response, the best poets, writers, and singers, they all talk about events from their own lives. That makes the event resonate more. I mean, that's what I've got experience with. Those are the things that I know more about from personal experience. When you have a personal experience with something, you read more about it, you feel it in your gut, you know it better. So you got more to share, more useful information to share on those things. So I'm always going to make some stuff about things that happen in my life. Why wouldn't I? Okay, the next viewer. The recent Pritikin paper from the video just about 2 weeks ago, makes it so obvious that the very low-fat vegan diet is the way to go. I mean, the Sweeney paper, this is the viewer going on, the Sweeney paper was written in the 1920s. They've known about this for 100 years. How do they keep this out of the medical textbooks and journals? Me. Well, the Warburg effect won a Nobel Prize in 1931. Kempner cured hypertension and coronary artery disease back in the 1940s and 50s. They knew there was no autoimmune disease in Africa or China since the 1950s with people eating plant-based diets, nearly vegan. They knew the cancer rates in plant-based countries were incredibly low in the 1960s and 70s. I think I saw some paper about it in around 1959, something like that. In Japan, there was only 17 cases of prostate cancer. Whereas, in the Western countries, the majority of patients, as they get older, end up with prostate cancer. Usually it's a turtle. You don't need to do anything about it. But anyways, low-fat plant-based diet dramatically lowers the risk of cancer, dramatically lowers the risk of breast cancer, prostate cancer, and a whole bunch of other ones, colon cancer, etc. Okay, and lung cancer. Okay, so the viewer continues. How come this doesn't get into the medical textbooks? How come this isn't part of medical training? He says every medical student should know about the low-fat vegan pioneers in nutrition. How come doctors don't know about this? Me. Well, most people, including lots of my relatives with graduate degrees and lots of doctors, they're functional illiterates. They never read. They've turned off their brains. They just go through the motions at their job, so they don't keep learning. They never learned it in their residency, and they don't keep learning as they get older, so they never learn it. That's what most people are like. And most people too, even when they've heard of the low-fat vegan diet. I've talked to tons of patients about it. Most of them don't want to do it. I'd say about 99%, they don't want to do it. You know, you hear about all these high compliance rates from Dr. McDougall, Dr. Esselstyn, Nathan Pritikin, but that's because those patients came to them and wanted the diet, okay? When you're just talking to random strangers, you know, the average American or Westerner, by the time they're 60, they're fat, sick, and stupid, okay? When I say stupid, I mean they're cognitively slow. They've sort of lost the vitality and nuance of a healthy brain. And they're just like, oh, I don't want to give up my ice cream, or you're going to take that away from me, or it's not the diet, it's genetic, or, you know, what about good fats, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so most of these people prefer to try some version of a low-carb or Mediterranean, lacto-ovo, pesco type of diet. And, you know, they'll mention some relative who lived to 90 despite smoking and eating a lousy diet. Okay, when I was growing up, both of my parents, including my dad, who was a double-boarded doctor, they smoked cigarettes and they ate high-fat diets with lots of meat. That was the normal thing to do. That's how it was at all my friends' houses, what their parents did too, most of them. Okay, and back in the 1970s, hardly anybody knew about nutrition except a few geniuses like Kempner, Burkitt, Pritikin, and McDougall, and their parents, okay, and their patients. Okay, but nowadays, anyone could easily learn if they make the effort. And, you know, my response, yes. And it's amazing that the low-fat vegan diet is so powerful, it can reverse congestive heart failure. I go, that's a Lazarus moment. You're bringing a heart back to life. Because heart failure is a big deal, man. It's not just coronary artery disease. It's, you know, destruction of cardiac muscle, remodeling of the heart with, you know, thickening of the wall, left ventricular hypertrophy, left ventricular fibrosis, and you got the whole Martin Pall business going on with all those no cycles and, you know, vicious cycles spiraling into disaster and death. Okay, CHF is, you know, descending into the pit of hell. It's bad. Okay, and then also I would add, this is the reason why, well, first of all, big food, big drugs, big medicine, big insurance, they don't want the public to know about the low-fat vegan diet. Okay, nobody makes money off low-fat vegans. So that's why all these videos for paleo, keto, carnivore, low-carb, Mediterranean diets, they get millions of views because these companies sponsor them. You could pay to get a video sponsored and generate millions of views. And they have to do that to keep all the public, you know, the pros, the chumps, misinformed. I get all these stupid paleo, keto, carnivore trolls, you know, telling me I don't know about nutrition because I recommend a vegan diet. It's like, it's ridiculous, you know. They're proud of their idiocy and their ignorance. Anyways, the moderate fat vegans, also I would call them the vegan Mediterranean diet. They get hundreds of thousands of views. They're also sponsored because you can sell a lot of stuff with moderate fat vegan. You can sell nuts and seeds and olive oil and soy, and you can hide MSG in there, all kinds of BS. Okay, but then, you know, I make a low-fat vegan. Other low-fat vegans make their videos. I only get a couple hundred views, you know, basically not enough to, you know, in any way significantly educate the public. Just a few, you know, motivated individuals are able to find this YouTube channel. Okay, I would say the paleo, keto, carnivore, low-carb diet is like the devil diet. You know, McDougall called the Atkins diet to make yourself sick diet. You're constipated, you more kidney stones, etc. All kinds of problems. Ketosis is bad. Okay, then the Mediterranean diet, I call it the Antichrist diet, meaning that it promises salvation, but it does not deliver. Okay, it's got crappy results. Okay, the modern fat vegan diet, which is the most popular vegan diet, I call that the false prophet. Okay, don't get me wrong, it's a lot better than these other diets, but it's still not what it could be. All right, and then the low-fat vegan diet, that's God's diet for mankind since Genesis 1:29. The species-specific diet, that's the only one showing to reverse coronary artery disease, the only one that really reverses CHF. But I do have to admit, Osterfeld did feed his patients some nuts, but I think he succeeded in spite of that fat rather than because of it. So anyways, hope that was helpful.